in his 12th season as general manager of the Houston Rockets. His Rockets will be kicking off the second half of the season tonight on TNT in the second half of their doubleheader against the Los Angeles Lakers, with James Harden putting his 30-plus points per game streak on the line at 31 and potentially counting. It is Daryl Morey here on the show. Good to see you, sir.
Thanks for having me. Appreciate it.
Let's get into that with Harden, because Harden told Rachel Nichols during the break that he had to do what he's done right now. Would you agree with that assessment? That he's had
I would,
to do it?
yeah. No, he saved our season. We've had, I think tonight's the first night we have our starting lineup in months, so we're pretty excited. I have never seen a player have to apologize for winning and for scoring as much. I don't remember Michael Jordan saying, "Hey, sorry for scoring 40 tonight." So it's been a real strange ride. I mean, we've been winning at a really high clip while he's been on this run, and really saved our season. As you know, Chris is out, Clint is out, all our guys have been out.
So it's, if I'm not mistaken, Brockman, correct me if I'm wrong, didn't Kobe at one point, sitting next to Tracy McGrady with Rachel Nichols, say that it's not sustainable in the playoffs that Harden's play? Isn't that correct? Did he say something like that?
To win a championship.
To win a championship. Yeah. Would you agree with that, Daryl?
Yeah, I would say like that way of X or that player if you do that, it doesn't win a championship, is the easiest bet to make in sports. Like only one team wins, so I get really bothered by people saying this can't win or that can't win. Well, the odds are pretty good you're going to be right, and on top of it, you can't win that way until you do. So there was the thought that you can't play like Golden State and win. You can't shoot threes. Well, we haven't heard about that in a while, have we? So we're going to play whatever is the best way to help us win games, and we think it can win in the playoffs.
So everybody's back tonight. Everybody's fresh. Everybody's good.
Our whole
tonight?
starting unit's back. We got maybe some bench guys out, but
Okay.
our whole starters are back.
Okay. So
Against playoff LeBron, so it's going to be a big one. It's going to be a big one.
yeah, LeBron says he's starting his playoff mode early.
He is, yes, yeah. So I you know, he's amazing. So you know that actually is it should be a great game.
Okay, so where do you watch the game from? Where are you? Are you?
I'm going to be in the stands for this one. I do better on road games. Home games I actually have more trouble. I'll watch in the back. Like I know you have your sanctum where you watch football. We have a similar in Houston.
You do?
Yeah. It's not quite as nice as yours. You guys
at the NFL
pretty
Network?
first rate here. But we got a nice room where we watch our games in the back.
All right. So before we return to your team, I want to get into the topic du jour today, that it does involve Zion Williamson, whose shoe exploded on him last night. Now, I know, were you at Duke practice this past week?
I was at Duke practice right after the Charlotte All-Star game.
Okay.
Coach Krzyzewski was very kind to invite myself to the practice, and I was able to watch. It's an impressive thing. I mean, he's a legend for a reason.
So what do you see? What do you glean from something like that? Is it an
Yeah,
evaluator?
I mean, we can't get too close. I'm not allowed to talk to any of the prospects, so it's just watching. I did talk to Coach K after. But yeah, you actually learn a lot in practice, habits. It was a very intense practice. They're preparing for their most important game of the year. So I thought it was a great one to go to.
So how do you know Mike? I mean, how long have you known Coach K?
So some of our staff knows him way better. Like Coach D'Antoni coached with him in USA Basketball. And, I know they've traded ideas a lot. Gerson Rosas, who's on the USA staff on the scouting and operations side. So we have a tight relationship with Coach K.
And then your NBA, Daryl Morey, Rockets general manager here. I'm fascinated by what the rules are. So you are bound by the NBA you're not allowed to talk to the kids at all?
I can't talk to any of the players until they declare themselves eligible for the draft, which happens later. And I can't even talk about them either. I can
right
talk
here,
about,
you may not talk about them.
I can't say anything about any player in college right now.
Well, I don't want to get you in any trouble then. So then let me ask a general question. If a player decides to not play anymore mid-season, don't play in the NCAA tournament because, let's say, I don't know, a shoe explodes on them on national television.
I feel like we're getting close to the line here.
Or like, what if a player, just in general, decides to, look, I don't want to put my body at risk in the same way we're seeing a lot of college football players do, not playing their final bowl game. How does that affect your evaluation of this player, Daryl?
It wouldn't change my evaluation. In terms of like the player, we're just looking at their talent. we're looking at what they can do. So what they choose to do, where they choose to play. Some players have played overseas, to get paid. Some players go to college. Some players even sit out the whole year, like Enes Kanter did years ago. So that none of that really affects how NBA teams look at these players. Kyrie Irving got hurt and he only played like 5 games at Duke or something like that. So. And he went, I believe, 1. So I think, right. So I think it's not a huge deal for NBA evaluators. We look at the talent mostly.
What about the heart, the want to? Wouldn't that be a question that you would have of somebody that decides to no longer put their body on the line because they know it would cost them potentially dollars and cents?
I think things like love of the game, drive, and heart are super important. But when we're talking about very elite talents, take a Joel Embiid years ago, where he didn't play many games at Kansas. Those players always go high in the draft, no matter. Elite talents are going to go high no matter what on those other factors.
Now, again, I don't want to get you too close to the fire here, but those players that you're mentioning didn't play because they were not physically able to play. This is
Kanter's an exception. I think
right.
He was ineligible, I believe.
So that's what I'm saying is that, what if somebody just decides to say, I'm healthy, but I don't want to play anymore because I don't want to hurt myself? That would not be an effect in evaluation.
I mean, for an elite, for me, I don't know how other teams look at it.
Sure.
For elite talents, it wouldn't affect me. If you're farther down, like we generally have picked in the second round or late in the first, that's when those factors start to come into play.
Daryl Morey here on the Rich Eisen Show, and obviously there are some elite talents that don't even need to go to college. So where do you stand on the one and done rule as it currently applies, Daryl?
I always have to remember. I mean, I can just talk in general. I really believe in players, like player empowerment, and I know that's been a topic of debate. Both good and bad, but I think the players are the talents. We're here to facilitate that, and that's been a key edge at the Houston Rockets. All the stars want to play with us because we create an environment for them, basically. Okay, so you don't have a philosophy one way or another whether you think a kid should come out of high school and play for the Houston Rockets right away, or is that something you can't discuss? Yeah, I'm worried. I can't remember all the rules, but I would say, I personally would want players in the NBA as quickly as possible. That's okay. All right. Daryl Morey, Houston Rockets general manager here on the Rich Eisen Show. Last we spoke, it was first blush after LeBron James had said something publicly about Anthony Davis and how amazing it would be. And I asked you if you thought that was tampering. And your response was, you don't care if a player talks about your other players, right? Yeah, and I think a commissioner has addressed that players are allowed to say whatever they want about other players. So yeah, the tampering rules, I think overall, whether it be for players, executives, or whatever, I think they're selectively enforced and basically unenforceable. So I would be for not having them at all. At all. Yeah, I know that's not a majority opinion, but that you'd be able to talk about any player in the NBA right now. For me, that would be a preferred option. It just would make it more. It would make everything above the board, that happens in the league. Interesting. So, what if another general manager says, "Man, Harden would be great on this team." You wouldn't have a problem with that? Yeah, I think if you're not secure enough to say I've created an environment where this guy wants to be, then I think that's your problem, not someone else's problem. I like that. Okay. Yeah. So I'm curious to know what you think, because all of us here in the media, we fill our time talking about what was going to happen at the trade deadline and what's going to happen at free agency, because we're all thinking who's going to put the team together to beat the Warriors. Now, you obviously, as a general manager, feel you have already done something like that. Yeah, right? We were there. We had over 50% championship odds at one point last year. There's no trophy for that, unfortunately. That's right. This year. You looked around the studio. We don't have it here. No. You don't have the 50% win odds trophy? No, we don't have that. No. Unfortunately, yeah. But we were there, and we haven't played that well to say we're championship quality this year. We're going to have to prove that as we're healthy down the stretch. But we do feel like we can be better than last year going into the playoffs with the talent we have now. Well, and obviously health has a lot to do with that. But the reason why I bring all of this up is so many people in the media
when they see a trade like the Knicks did, opening up max spots, plural, that we are assuming that players have already made a decision on their free agency destinations and have somehow signaled it. Do you think players who are free agents this July or any July by midseason have already made a decision?
Sometimes, I would say most of the time, they might have inklings. They might have told their agents, you know, here's a few places I want to go, but you can't really sign them to paper until later. So there's no guarantees. My sense is the teams that open up cap room, they're not just looking at one player. They're looking at, hey, we've got, you know, some good chance for this player, some, you know, reasonable chance for this guy. Maybe these four are less likely, but we still have some chance. So overall, it's a good move to open up room.
Well, no, I'm sure it is. But do you think that players have already decided? Do you think that players know now? It doesn't matter what happens between now and then, because we're all assuming that guys are wanting to create a new spot for their quote-unquote legacy. I'm wondering what somebody who really is involved in general management
I would say it's never 100%. Like, I've had players who, you know, are very likely to go to a certain team, and they might see something on Twitter and it might affect how they view things. I mean, it's not over till it's over. And I think the idea that they've generally already said 100%, I know what I'm doing, is almost always not true at this time.
Yeah, I know. So many people think that, you know, again, other players in the NBA, I don't want to say their names, but we know who they are, that they're either A, gone, or B, not coming back to that spot, but definitely going somewhere here, that other, and it's kind of crazy.
It's all probabilities. I do think, you know, those probabilities shift, and players might have a sense, hey, I want to leave or I don't, but there's never 100%. There's always that meeting where you make your case. It almost always happens. There are times when a player doesn't have a meeting or whatever, but generally there's always at least a moment where you have a chance to sort of make your pitch.
You got to shoot your shot. YOLO, right?
Yeah, exactly. Yeah,
as the kids
that's
say.
That's
the new millennials. Yeah, they do say that.
Yes.
A few minutes left with Daryl Morey, kind enough to join us here on the day that his Rockets take on the Lakers here in Los Angeles. How active were you before the trade deadline?
We're active all year. I mean, our philosophy is like we're trying to assemble a championship team around James and Chris, and we're going to do anything. We're always aggressive. We're going to trade off future for present because we believe our time is now. So we have those conversations constantly and all the time. So
it's interesting. You're willing to trade future for present right now.
Yeah, no, I think when you're in a window where the player's great as Harden, who I think is going to go down as one of the all-time great offensive players if he's not there already, you've got to go for it.
Why do you think he has had to apologize for his streak, Daryl?
I think because of Coach D'Antoni and him, and the way we play is different. Just like, you know, Charles Barkley was criticizing Golden State. You can't win by shooting threes or whatever. Whenever you're doing something different, people are going to say, you know, that can't work, right? You know, they fear change. They fear the different. And I think James said it himself. When it's former players who are not liking the style, but that happens all the time, I get down that he gets down, because the way we play for sure can win, and we showed it last year. So
when you say you get, what do you mean by you get down when he gets down?
Yeah, I mean, he had an interview at All-Star where he was like almost apologizing for having to carry us on his back during this period, and I think it should be celebrated. So
because he's got 31 in a row right now. I mean, that's amazing.
Yeah, and really I'm actually starting to like the beard, so I grew the beard when he started scoring 30. So
is that right? Because I didn't notice that.
Yeah.
How long do you think?
I had to trim it though. I don't know how he does it. Like it's the hair started going everywhere. So
yeah, I don't know how he does it either. It's just it's an impressive situation.
And it's a next level situation.
Yeah.
We
TJ on your staff, he's got the James Harden beard.
Us mere mortals can't keep up with the growing habits of NBA players.
Right. Now that you're all healthy, though, you don't need him to carry it, right?
Well, that would be the idea. The idea is have a more diversified attack. But for people to have tried to tear down him carrying us and getting us to this point where we're positioned to have another great playoff run, I think it was pretty frustrating.
And how do you last one for you on this subject?
Yeah.
How do you compare yourself to Golden State? I mean, when you hear Steve Kerr say Boogie Cousins no longer is going to have a minute ceiling, I mean, are you tracking all of this?
Yeah, I mean, they're the best team. They should have won 4 in a row. They've won 3 of the last 4. You know, they're the standard, so we always compare ourselves to them.
Okay, yeah. And you don't make any bones about it.
No, I mean, I think Oklahoma City's terrific. Denver's terrific this year. There's some great teams in the East, so we got to knock off a lot of others, but they're the champ for a reason. I mean, that's the team almost for sure we have to beat to win the title.
Okay, and also we could not help but notice. Do you have the Bleacher Report tweet that Daryl responded to? Can we put that up on the screen right here? After Ray Allen lit it up in the celebrity game, Bleacher Report said, "Someone give Jesus Shuttlesworth a 10-day." You retweeted it. We are in if he is.
Yeah,
in.
he's my white whale. Since he walked away from the game, he's acted like he might come back through his agent many times. We chased him down at a golf course once.
What do you mean?
He's famously hard to reach. His own agent can't communicate with him half the time. And so I've been chasing him for a while. He's perfect for our system. He keeps himself in unbelievable shape. So people thought that was a joke. That is not a joke. Ray Allen, I will sign Ray Allen to a 10-day tomorrow or today if he says he's in, and probably a bigger contract actually, but for sure the 10-day is easy.
Well, I mean, the camera's right there, Daryl. Just in case Ray's out there, you want to go ahead and address it right there, Daryl.
Ray Allen, you know we've been obsessively chasing you for years. We think you're perfect for our system. Come to the Houston Rockets, win another championship. It's time.
Okay, there you go. No, what do you mean you chased him at a golf course?
He wouldn't call his agent back, and we wanted to sign him during free agency. This was probably 2 years ago, maybe 3. And he's like, maybe your only shot. He's at this charity golf event. Just donate and try and get him. And I couldn't make it, but we sent one of our staff there to try and chase him down. And nope, didn't get it. Couldn't get to him.
Couldn't get to him on a golf course?
No. So
wow,
this is what we do. I obsessively chase players, and sometimes it works, sometimes it doesn't. So
well, that's why you've been at it for 12 years.
Some percentage of stalking works, actually. You know,
when it comes to getting the players.
when it comes to getting the players,
I just need to make sure that we we get that completely all out there. All right, so good luck to you, man, moving forward here in your pursuit to bring a championship to the city of Houston.
Thanks for having me. Appreciate it.
Anytime. Daryl Morey. Follow him on Instagram, Daryl Morey, and Twitter @DMorey. And he's got the Lakers tonight. Good to see you, sir. Thanks for coming.
For having me on. Appreciate it.
You bet.
The Rich Eisen Show, weekdays at noon Eastern on Audience.